Beer was consumed initially because it was safer to drink than water. It was a domestic chore, really, to make beer, so it really primarily was women who were making beer. For me, that was a huge revelation that there's this giant disconnect in at least American craft brewing. Everybody I saw was male. For me, one of the biggest concerns was, will people accept beer made by a woman? Grew up in the Midwest in Indiana, really kind of simple, but like emphasized values of education. And my first job out of college, I thought I had made it. I was hired as this underwriter for reinsurance companies, but I'd say within about 12 months I had my midlife crisis. I hated it. I am like not the corporate type at all. I was like commuting to work on a train in downtown Chicago, wearing business suits. I remember like buying like an American light lager to drink when I was riding home on the train from work and being like, yeah, if this is like my life sitting on a train drinking this crappy beer. There's plenty of times where you kind of need a little bit of a kick in your pants, you know, where you feel like, I kind of want to do this, but I'm kind of afraid, I'm not really sure. And I think that's something that has made Robin and I a really good team. Robin is my wife, partner in life, partner in business. We met when I was living in Boston.
I would say my forte is I'm a death expert. At 21, 22, I jumped into law enforcement. 32 years later, just retired from the Massachusetts State Police. I ended up the last 20 years in the crime scene forensic field, and I ran 7 sub-laboratories. For many of those years, you know, Maureen was my backbone, you know, because I'd have to get up in the middle of the night and catch a helicopter to go to the vineyard or drive 3 hours to Pittsfield, you know, and she'd be out there cleaning the snow off my car.
One of the things that I noticed when I got a little bit older and started trying craft beer, I realized that this whole thing about like fermentation is really about transforming these really common ingredients into something that brings people together, helps people celebrate. Brought together all these things I loved with like creating things, having a physical job, doing something that felt really tangible. So I discovered there are a couple of brewing schools in the US, so I attended the one that was more of a correspondence class. There was an apprenticeship piece to it, and that's kind of how I got my start as a professional brewer. Worked my way up until like mid-2000s when I stopped to have our boys. I kept home brewing, and then at that moment there were lots of little craft maltsters, so like artisans who buy the barley from the farmers, and they prepare the grain for us to use in our brewing, and that's a super unique ingredient that like I never learned about in brewing school. So that kind of like moment in time where we were ready to start a brewery, there was also this cool opportunity to make beer that was like truly local, from a local product. Like nobody was doing that. Rather start out on a bigger scale like this, let's start out on a little 10-gallon size, sell it to one local like farm-to-table restaurant, package it in these old like 22-ounce bottles, take those to the local package store, and actually build a brewery like in our garage, like on our property. And it was great for our kids too, I think, to see like, you know, when they would get on the bus and I'd like wave them goodbye from the driveway, and then they'd come back home at, you know, 2:30, 3 in the afternoon, and I was cleaning up from a double brew. And like for them to see, if you have a dream, like do it.
When Maureen was building the brewery, you know, I was over here painting, on a lift painting, everything by hand. You know, that 10-foot sign, you know, I made myself. These trees fell in our yard after a storm, and everything here is just sort of repurposed and recycled. You know, fits into, you know, our roots. Everybody that comes in here, when this place is open and the music is going, or there's a band outside, it's like everybody just says like, wow, this has just got a vibe. My job is to create the sense of community, and I think, you know, we did it.
The ability to make whatever beer you want to make, to have your product distributed as wide or as close to home as you like those sorts of decisions give us so much balance in our life. We have the ability to not let the business run away with us, or to kind of keep our family balanced the way we want it to be. I feel like we're incredibly fortunate, but we also get that kind of that satisfaction and that fulfillment that comes from doing something that feels so personal and allows like so much connection to people, but also enhances their lives too.